would like to call the Town of Rocky Hill Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order. It's Wednesday, August 17, 2022. First item on the agenda is the public hearing.
Special permit application, Cybar Rocky Hill LLC, proposing a dental lab of approximately 15,000 square feet to be located in Building 3 of the I-91 Tech Center, also known as 825 Brook Street, plus possible minor site improvements, including, but not limited to, a walkway and a dumpster pad located on Office Park Zoning District ID 16-272-002.
Applicant, if you'd like to address the commission.
I would. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Lou Wise. I'm an attorney at the firm of Rojan Nassau in downtown Hartford, and I am here tonight on behalf of Cybar. It's actually pronounced Cybar, I learned. Cybar Rocky Hill LLC. With me tonight is Brian Murphy, who is a representative of the applicant. And in case you have any questions after I'm finished, he's here to answer them. I'm going to be very brief tonight. In fact, the notice that was just read pretty much sums up what we're here for. The application is a very simple one. The applicant owns property at known as the I-91 Tech Center. It's located at 795 to 865 Brook Street, which abuts I-91. The center consists of 5 buildings on roughly 14 and a half acres. And it was approved by this commission back in 1984. It's located in the Office Park, the OP district. The buildings, there are 5 buildings, as I said, and they range in size from about 19,000 feet to 31,000 square feet. By this application, all that we're really requesting is a special permit for approximately 15,000 square feet of existing space in building number 3, which is 825 Brook Street. And the purpose is to allow a dental lab to be operated by National Dentex Labs, which is a prospective tenant of the applicant. The Dentex is the largest dental lab in the country with over 50 locations in the United States. Apparently, this type of use will be new to this tech center, which is why we need a special use permit. The Dentex lab utilizes the latest state-of-the-art technology, and in particular 3D printing. The dental lab will fabricate dental crowns as well as bridges and dentures, implants, etc., pursuant to the prescriptions of the treating dentist. Following the fabrication, the finished product will be shipped to the prescribing dentist. Dental patients will therefore have no reason to visit the site. Dentex estimated that the lab will employ about 65 people, and there is plenty of parking available for these employees. There are 82 parking spaces alone which are dedicated to Building 3. The proposed use is consistent with the uses permitted in the OP district, although the zoning regs in the district do not specifically reference a dental lab or any other type of lab. Section 4.B.6 of the zoning use table does permit advanced manufacturing, and it also permits light assembly in this zoning district. The fabrication of the dental devices described above involves both advanced manufacturing and assembly, and therefore we believe it is a permitted use by special permit in the OP district. And it should be pointed out that other tenants in the center produce products utilizing advanced technologies. For example, Connecticut Physician Services creates software for physicians' products. As I said, Dentex will be using 3D technology to fabricate most of its products. Since the lab will obviously produce no negative impacts upon other center tenants or any neighbors of the center, and because it's a special permit use in the district, it's respectfully submitted that the requested special permit should be approved. As I said, all we're doing is changing the use and introducing a new use to this development. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you have any technical ones, Mr. Murphy can hopefully respond.
Because this is the special permit and we have the special permit criteria, if you can please go over those, so,
I did address those in the application. It's in your packet.
right.
Um,
So,
There wasn't too much to say, though, because, but I can tell you what I submitted. The lab is going to be located in an existing building, which is part of the I-91 Tech Center. So we're not building anything new, and a lot of the special permit criteria deal with new building, new construction. So the tech center is going to remain exactly as it is now. There will, as I said, there'll be no material modifications to the center necessary to accommodate the tenant. The center's in the OP district, as I just mentioned, which permits light manufacturing and light assembly. It's not going to produce any noise, emit fumes, or in any other way be detrimental to adjacent properties within the center or in the zoning district. It will further the purpose of the OP district, which is to attract clean and technologically advanced light manufacturing and assembly businesses. As such, the proposed use is clearly in harmony with the district and satisfies the special permit criteria. So that's basically, our explanation of why this fits, why it satisfies all of the special permit criteria. Most of the other categories that are listed in the special permit criteria have to do with new construction, which this is, as I said, there will be no such thing for this proposal.
so again, can you please just go through A, B, C, D, E, F, the entire list? And if there is nothing, you can just say so, because this is for the benefit of the public who are not here.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, just to read it into the
yeah,
record.
just for
Okay.
the record, yeah.
Appropriate improvements, the only possible improvements are, as was stated, which are very minor, a new sidewalk from, possibly, the tenant hasn't decided yet whether they're going to actually make these improvements, but the only improvements will be a sidewalk from the parking area to a possibly new entranceway to this lab. So those improvements are clearly appropriate for this special permit use. Suitable transportation, I can't read my own conditions. It's an existing development, so that's really not applicable. Adequate public utilities and services, again, not applicable. Environmental protection, not applicable. Long-term viability, not applicable because it's an existing development. Consistency with the overall objectives, as I said before, the proposed use furthers the purposes of the OP regulations and with the goals and objectives and policies recommendations of the Plan of Conservation and Development, which is to further this type of clean, high-tech uses.
All right, thank you.
I have one other thing. Just for the record, I'd like to submit the certified mail receipts that we got. I'll give those to Kim.
Okay, thank you.
Would like to call upon public if you have any comments on the proposal. Anyone in the public who would like to address to the commission on this particular proposal? Seeing none, I'll open up to our commissioners. And Commissioner Zarelli?
No,
The only question I have is, how do you get your products as well as, how do you procure your products? I mean, do you have a loading dock or anything, or everything's like via FedEx, UPS, and it just goes to the front door? How does the products move in and out of your facility?
You want to address that? Brian?
It's a good question. So it's not a loading dock
Can you
requirement.
address your name, please?
It's Brian Murphy. I'm with C-Bar. Everything will come UPS, FedEx, that sort of natural delivery system.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Commissioner?
No questions.
I have just one question. You said there's no air emissions associated with this, but in your packet, you say that there's an oven that's used?
There's what?
An oven, a sintering oven? Can you explain what that is? And
Remember that being in the submission.
Yeah, they probably, and again, I'm just the landlord, and I'm not producing the dentures, but I'm assuming they use their high-power 3D printers, and I'm assuming at times, depending on what the denture is, they may have to put it under heat to cure it. But it should not admit any type of chemicals or anything that we would be worried about. Is that helpful?
yeah,
All right.
thank you.
Commissioner Morales?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Robbins?
Just a question, are the items you listed as possible improvements part of this submittal, or are those just additional information?
They're not really part of the submittal. It was for information purposes. I had discussed this with Ms. Ritchie, and she thought that these were so minor that they didn't really need a formal commission approval.
Okay.
That you could-
I bring it up only because if you did put in a generator, depending on the size and scope of that generator, you'd have to get it permitted from the state.
From the state. Yeah, no, thank you.
I don't have anything else.
Do you have any flammable products or chemicals that will require waste disposal or removal?
None that we're aware of at all. They disclosed a slideshow and presentation to us on the products and took us through some of the processes, but they did not give us any information on that. So at this point, I would say the answer is no.
Okay. And you mentioned possible improvements, like a new sidewalk. Is that something that you're looking to change the entrance?
It would be an entrance to take garbage out of the building. It wouldn't be the main entrance where shipments would come in or the employees would come in and out. It would be just a sidewalk that would be created to get to the dumpster to get their trash out.
Where would the dumpster be located?
There's a print in your packet, I believe, showing you where the dumpster would be potentially.
There's an attachment to the application. I think it's attachment 5.
Yep.
Yeah, attachment 5 to the application.
It's an aerial view.
It's the last.
Is the last page.
Okay. It does say possible generator, so is that a possibility too?
Not part of
That is a possibility too, potentially, but I'm not sure. And I do understand we'd have to permit that with the state.
And the other size.
And will there be like night hours there? Because I know it's pretty dark in that plaza at night, and there's very difficult
We're told
lighting.
at this point there's only one shift.
Okay.
And they work
Days.
basically during the day.
Okay. Yeah, because it is pretty dark at night.
It is. Any other questions for me?
I don't have further questions.
Thank you.
So before we vote, I just want to make sure who is seated. So it's myself, Commissioner Zurelli, and then Commissioner,
us.
no, No, Hussey, yep. And then Commissioner Morhos and then Commissioner Robbins. So can I have a motion?
Motion to
please?
close public hearing.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Going on to item number 2. Call to order immediate following public hearing. Anyone in the public who would like to address to the commission on any item that is not on the agenda? Any,
You're talking the special hearing at 6:30, not the 7 o'clock meeting.
We're in that meeting now.
no, we are in the meeting.
You're in that now?
Yep.
Then I
Yeah.
guess I should run my mouth. It's okay.
So you would like to address to the commission on something that's not on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
Good evening, members of the Planning and Zoning Board. I'm here tonight as a citizen to speak for those who do not have a voice, and you will understand this when I'm finished.
Don't forget your name.
Before you move on, can you please
Oh,
mention your name?
Tony Palazzolo, George Road, and I have that at the bottom of my thing. Thank you. The first one, after listening to the pre-application presentation of the proposal for 30 units, 5 stories high at 2369 Main Street across from the Ames Building, I have some comments and questions. The first is water. I was raised by a father that,
Can I,
Yes.
just for,
Well, I just
For
want
order,
to, yeah,
can
I
I-
just want to state for the record, there was no application before the commission. Pre-application is a non-binding.
I know it's a pre-app. I'm just
Presentation,
giving you thoughts for the future.
Well, if there is an application, this will not be part of the record. Whatever you're saying will not be part of the record, and based upon the type of application, I, as staff, will discourage the commission from engaging in anything that would be substantive about this, as it is an 830G application that may possibly be coming in. We don't even know if they're going to apply. The commission has to be careful as far as
I
what they can
understand
and
that.
cannot say, and what you're saying will not be part of the record if and when something does come in.
I understand that.
So,
You have to do what you have to do.
yeah.
Okay. The first is water. I was raised by a father he had mechanical and aeronautical engineering.
Make a point of order.
What?
When an application comes in, this should be discussed. This is.
You want me to hold it until an application
That
comes
would
in?
be the
Have to be an
best thing.
application coming in, yeah.
If it comes in, yeah. You're speaking about, I should be speaking to the chairman, speaking about something that is
Doesn't
hypothetical
exist.
at this point.
Unless, I mean, unless you can talk in generalities, not specific to anything that has ever been discussed by the commission. If you can discuss in generalities, then,
Well, our water and the foundation, the cellar, safety,
again, I think
are those general enough?
I'm trying to be careful not to say no to a speaker. At the same time, speaker understands that we cannot engage in this. There is no application, it's just a pre-app. You will have an opportunity to talk to the commission if and when the application comes in. However, I'm respectful of your time, and I will give you 3 minutes, but again, this is just, I mean, you can just talk
It's-
about in generality. I
It's
mean,
just what it is. Well,
Yeah, we are not here to
make
take
judgment.
it in.
No.
Okay.
I can read what I have here, or I can just jump to probably the thing that I consider to be the most important, and that is, I want to know we had a survey here on housing about a month ago or 2 months ago, done through Parks and Rec, which really didn't allow everyone in Rocky Hill to participate, because if you didn't have a computer, you weren't online. However, I don't know if they addressed affordable housing, and they addressed it in the survey as to whether there was a need, but they didn't tell us what we presently have. I mean, we have tons of apartments up in Century Hills. Were any of those ever designated as affordable? I know that O'Sullivan put in something for every so many units had to be in a certain price range. I don't know if that was low income or affordable. I don't know where they begin and end. Anyway, I want to know who's in charge of keeping track of all this. How many years, should they start building these units in Rocky Hill, how many years will this be good for? Is it 20, 10, 20, 40 years? And who keeps the record? I know in New York City, the apartments that have controlled rent are very desirable, and they're very hard to get a hold of. And they're kept very well track as far as they know where it is. My other thing is, I have here a map, and we have in Hartford County, I think 5 out of 6 bats. 3 of them are, I think, endangered, and the other 3 are. Let me see. I have to go to the thing. The other 3 are 6 that are endangered. 3 of them are of special concerns, and 3 are endangered. Now, if you look at the map that I am handing in, which you don't want to know about, but it was done in June of '22, it shows Elm Street as like the margin. There is a bubble going up, it starts from Main Street, and it bursts out at Grimes Road, and there's water running through there. The question is, do the bats, if we have them, which are indigenous to Hartford County, do they know enough to stop at the Elm Street line and not go to where you're cutting the trees? I'm assuming the trees that start behind Doc Mosier's house may be habitat for some of these creatures. So other than that, you might want to have a little survey done so you're prepared in the event that you have people requesting such things. But definitely get somebody in charge of this, let the public know.
Ma'am, if you're going to talk, please talk in the microphone, because we have household members who might be listening and they cannot hear you. So, but thank you for your concerns. And again, we invite you if and when the application comes in, because this will not be recorded. Nothing today, what you said, will be recorded and taken on by, by the commissioner members. So, thank you. Right, going on to agenda item 4.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 5A.
Special permit application, C-Bar Rocky Hill LLC, proposing a dental lab of approximately 15,000 square feet to be located in Building 3 of I-91 Tech Center, also known as 825 Brook Street, plus possible minor site improvements, including but not limited to a walkway and dumpster pad located in Office Park Zoning District ID 16-272-002.
Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve agenda item A, special permit application, C-Bar Rocky Hill LLC.
I'll second that.
All in favor of motion?
Discussion?
Oh,
None, but.
any discussion among the members?
Just a quick one. I had asked that question about whether possible site improvements were part of the proposal, and the answer was no, but they're, in the motion, they're listed. So, but the generator's not on that list, so it's just, well, it says but not limited to a walkway. So that actually, the motion just includes the improvements for the record, right? The possible improvements?
Those two, yeah.
Yes.
All right, that's all I wanted to ask.
Yep. So, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations. Moving on to item 6A, the bylaws.
Okay. Can I
Yep.
comment? I was the one that asked for the change, and it looks fine, exactly the way I would have worded it, so I'm okay with it, so.
Any other comments?
I actually have a comment.
Okay.
And I know this is how you wanted it worded. My concern with this is that it politicizes the commission, of which I, as staff member, has a concern. My idea was to basically number the alternates, 1, 2, and 3. And it would basically be in a rotating manner that, okay, day 1, for example, day 1, Sean was seated for Giuseppe. Day 2, or meeting 2, maybe Nancy. Day 3, or meeting 3, might be Stephen. Meeting 4 might be Sean, and it would just alternate that way. If, for example, it's Sean's turn and Nancy's, or Sean is absent, Nancy would sit in for Sean. And then the next meeting, it would go to Stephen, and then back to
Do
Sean
I have to
again.
sit this chair?
No, you can stay, no, you can stay right here. But that way, it would not be a politicized,
I don't see this being politicized. I mean, it's the appointment of the members
Yeah.
and the alternates is political. So if the
Yeah.
town council wants to appoint non-political alternates, that's something else. But right now, there's 2 from one, from the majority and 1 from the minority, and that flip-flops back and forth. Could be majority next time and minority. So I don't see this as being political. And thankfully, we're a small town and we're really
Oh, I
don't
know,
get
I
into
know,
that
but
stuff.
I'm just saying, that's just my thoughts on this.
Yeah, well,
I mean, isn't it the case that if I'm out or Alan's out, as far as the appointment of alternates for either one of us, Nancy's our alternate. So if
Right.
that person's out,
there should be
it just
representation.
seems logical that that person was assigned to be the alternate for those people, so that appropriate alternate would be assigned,
Yeah, I mean, that's
and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean,
the
that,
whole
that's
nature of the appointments
process,
by the
yes.
town council.
Yep.
You can do that.
So unless everyone else has any concerns or any comments,
I mean, the way it had been written in the past, it was basically a rotating system.
Yeah. and, I mean,
Didn't have that, if one party's out, a member of one party's out, it was definitely that member of that party. It was just a rotating system.
the alternate way of doing it is, leave it up to staff for alternates, because they have the record, they know who attended, who was at the meeting. So what happens is, when we get the agenda on the table, we get one more page, and that says, who is
Whatever you-
alternate 1, 2, 3. By that way,
Well,
You know,
I just like it the way it
nothing,
is.
you know.
The way it's worded, it is consistent with the way the members are appointed at the beginning of the term. So that's just why I brought it up in the first place.
okay.
So,
And just so you know, obviously, the strikeout language is what we're taking out.
Right.
And some of the other wording that's highlighted in yellow has been changed.
so I'll make a motion to approve the bylaws as amended.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
And no alternates voted, by the way.
Even if they voted, they don't count. It doesn't matter. They can vote.
The irony of it.
Okay, so bylaws are done.
You voted. Yes.
6B, zoning enforcement.
Zoning enforcement, we're actually quite engrossed in the case with concierge. So that's been a very hot topic. We have, it is a court case, so I can't get into much detail, but we have zoning issues, housing code issues, building code issues, fire code issues, health code issues. So, and we continue to receive complaints. There is a citizens advisory group being formed of residents up there, which I think is fantastic. They're taking it upon themselves to do so. We're seeing an increase in blight complaints, and we correlate it with people out of work, people having that COVID fatigue. So we're seeing an increase in blight complaints. We're seeing an increase in frivolous complaints on neighbors. Not so much because there's something valid, but a lot more complaints just because people are not getting along well these days. So we're out in the field a lot for things that don't necessarily, they're not valid. So, but that's
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask a
Okay.
question on that? On any of these, like whether it be a blight or a living situation, is there any impact on first responders? I'm just curious. Is there any hazard for first responders?
some of the blight, we deal with the exterior of the property. We don't deal with the interior. Oftentimes, if we go out to a site, and we have had this circumstance, where we go out to the site and there is a valid complaint on the outside, and if we see something, for example, we've seen vehicles that are basically hoarding vehicles, vehicles that are full, to the window with stuff. We can only assume what's going on in the house if people are in the house. So we reach out to Human Services.
Oh, and I mean, how about, you mentioned concierge. So any health hazards for first responders going in those buildings?
I can't really discuss that because it's
Okay.
it is a court case, but there are first responders that are, the fire department, for example, is involved with some enforcement issues. I can talk offline.
I think hopefully they are addressing structural issues. For example, I think that's what you're concerned about. For example, they go on roof and roof is not in good condition. It poses a threat to firefighters or whoever goes in.
Any
I mean,
first
that's just an
responder.
example. Yeah.
Any first
So,
responder.
yep.
Like if you go in there with
Yeah.
an ambulance stretcher and the elevator doesn't
Yep.
work.
Okay.
I know about those.
Item C, minor modifications.
I believe, no.
Item D, Plan Implementation Committee. I think we have to set a meeting for,
Just do it.
what is that?
Can we just set one? Can we
Yeah.
just set a date?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we can set one.
Yes.
Is there a schedule set up in advance?
Yeah, there was a schedule.
There was.
There was.
We only got 4 months left.
Tim, do you have dates?
I don't have the dates with me.
There was a schedule set
Pick
up.
one in September and let's rip it.
What's on the website?
I think,
Just on our phone.
September 7th is the first Wednesday in September.
okay. Is that the date we had said before? September 7th? All right, so September
there.
7th. Quick meeting. Item
Tell
E.
you about the agenda tomorrow.
What?
The sun will come
Oh,
up
you
tomorrow.
put out the agenda tomorrow.
Item E, legislation.
No. I do want to talk about 830G. And while I know it's not new legislation, it's actually very old legislation. I have put in your packet information about 830G, just more as not talking about anything specific, talking in general about what 830G is. It's a section of the statutes. And I do have to point out that, an aside, the ADA, it's celebrating 32 years of the American with Disabilities Act, so there's an announcement in your packet on that one also. So under 830G, and this may be of interest to others in the audience, and I want to read this paragraph. There's, under 830G, municipalities are to have 10% of their units as designated affordable by state law in order to be exempt from this particular statute. I'm reading from a document put out by Partnerships for Strong Communities. I thought it kind of summed it up well. that municipalities with more than 10% of affordable housing stock are exempt from the requirements of 830G of the Connecticut statutes. Connecticut municipalities in which less than 10% of the housing stock is affordable must allow affordable or mixed-income housing proposals to be constructed unless they can prove to the Superior Court that rejection is necessary to protect, and I stress the word substantial, public interests in health, safety, or other similar matters. Rocky Hill, just so you know, has approximately 5.14% units designated affordable, and that is a flexible number that waxes and wanes depending on Section 8 vouchers, depending on CHFA mortgages, et cetera. The developments, affordable housing developments, must restrict at least 30% of the units within that development as affordable for low or moderate income households for at least 40 years. I won't be around in 40 years, so I won't be tracking it. So, 31 towns and cities across the state are exempt from this. And yes, the majority of those communities are more urbanized communities. So
They're exempt because they meet the 10%, or
they're exempt because they meet the 10%. Okay, but some communities have actually gone on to the exempt list. They've had 11%, and then all of a sudden one year they're on the list, and then for some reason, the Section 8 vouchers, the people leave, go elsewhere, or something puts them under the 10%, and they go back on the list, and now they're so. Yeah, so we have a long way to go, and I know that the state and some of the legislators are actually looking at that to possibly modify 830G, saying it's not practical for communities to have that. So I know at the state level it's being discussed to possibly modify this.
Yeah, I noticed there's House Bill 5204. Is that active, or is that for this year? Or I read something that the bills that were put forward this year didn't go through, but that they would reappear next year.
Yeah, they're going to. It's been on the docket for a while now. It's been in discussion for a while now. So I don't see it going away. I don't know if it's going to be raised in all earnest, but I do see it being discussed.
That didn't get passed during the recent session, so it has to be reintroduced and go through the whole process from the beginning, other than having to rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah. Under on the Partnerships for Stronger Communities 2021 Affordable Appeals List, you can see some of the communities that have been exempted on page 4 of that document. So the highest percentage of gains have been with the deed-restricted units, the single-family mortgages, CHFA also. This is just more for your information. There is a document called Planning for Affordability in Connecticut, and I think that went out to you folks quite a while ago. I can certainly get that out to you guys again, but they do actually offer suggestions on how to create affordable housing. This will be dealt with in our affordable housing plan, which is currently being worked on. And just so people in the audience do know, there will be public information meetings on that as it gets into draft form. There have been 2 meetings with this commission already. Those meetings were open to the public, and those meetings are on the Rocky Hill YouTube channel, or I can certainly get minutes of those meetings out to you if you want them as well. There's an interesting document I found on the Office of Legislative Research. This was back in 2013. So this was early on during the 830G existence, but it talks about some of the court cases Not in great detail, obviously, and I can certainly get them for you if you'd like. But if you look on pages, 2, 3, and others, you'll see that many communities have acted on applications that have come before them under 830G. And while there have been very few that the towns have prevailed on, there have been some. Obviously, it must meet a substantial public interest in the public health, safety, and welfare. If you were to impose certain conditions on a certain types of applications, 830G, or if you were to deny an application, because if you deny an application under this statute and you haven't met your 10%, you'd be hard pressed unless you can prove that the such denial is protecting the public health, safety, and welfare of the town, and you have to be very specific, and it has to be a substantial interest. But it's good educational material. Towards the end of that document for the Office of Legislative Research report, it talks about the 830G law allows the developers to bypass height density setback regulations in towns having less than 10%. So you really kind of take your zoning regulations and you do end up kind of putting them aside if they're coming in under 830G. And you really have to just look at public health, safety, welfare, and you better, have your ducks in a row if you're going to either be denying or imposing conditions on them. And I just wanted to basically educate you on that by providing you some documentation. I also provided you with the statute, the 830G statute, so if you ever are not sleeping at night, feel free to have a good read.
So I just have one question on that Partnership for Strong Community, the second page. It has towns short of 10% can realistically achieve a 4-year moratorium. So I just want to see whether Rocky Hill had applied, or, what are those conditions that the towns can get exemption? And it's at the bottom, the last one.
Where are you?
Towns short of 10%.
Which one are you on?
It's the one pager from Strong Partnership.
Oh, the moratorium.
Yeah, moratoria.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you the same question. It said that towns have achieved moratoriums, but they've been proactive, so it seems like you have to have an proactive affordable housing plan in place.
And we
So
don't.
The question, and exempt? Or, it sounds like, because I don't think these towns that got the moratorium are exempt yet.
No, they said some of the towns are exempt, and there are some that are in the process of being exempt.
Yeah, like Berlin and
Yeah.
Darien have each received 2 moratoriums.
Right.
Trumbull, Ridgefield, Wilton, Farmington have all achieved moratorium. More towns are close to reaching one,
Right.
because they made thoughtful.
But they're also working towards it.
Yeah,
They're doing
so-
more than
So that question then
We have.
becomes, based on what we discussed at our last meeting, if we became quickly and an urgent status, more proactive in getting our affordable housing plan up to date, is there a possibility we could qualify if we adopted a proactive affordable housing plan?
Well, I think what has to happen is some sort of successes with actually creating affordable housing and doing something to besides just the plan, but actually implementing to show that you're actually doing something about it besides just, okay, we're planning for it, we need to implement it, we need to create it.
So I think based on
Yeah.
what, I think
I think this is it's a good start, but I think we have a ways to go before we actually.
because I think the commission did adopt affordable housing in our regulations and all that stuff, and then when application came,
Yeah.
we did receive 10% affordable housing. So I think it's,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much that is enough But I was just
nor do
asking.
I. Nor do I. I know at our last meeting when we were discussing with Glenn, I did raise the fact that there were 3 property owners on Celestine Highway that own office buildings. And I believe there's something in your packet that is an article about, from real estate brokers, that talks about there really is no market for office buildings right now. And we did have 3 such owners come to us and say, we want to create a mixed-use development or turn this office building into residential units. And I said, okay, what about offering affordable housing? What about offering affordable housing, 30% of the units, 20% of the units to be affordable? And I know at least 2 of them went away saying, yes. No, they said, yeah, good idea. But we don't have that in our regulations, but we can create that in our regulations now. We can
So I
do that
think
now.
maybe we should at least look at those things.
Yes.
Because this is coming down the pike. It
Yes.
has already come down. I
Yes.
mean, these are all laws now.
Yep.
So, you know, we have to proactively look at
Yep.
how we can increase, and reach 10%.
And it would be, Solacene would be the perfect area in which to do this. We've created the streetscape with wider sidewalks, with walkability. There are bus routes along Solacene Highway, so it does make logical sense that we would do something with housing along Solacene.
Right, any other comments?
I read in very detail, very much went through this document you sent us, and what I found interesting was, while it is true that many of the cases, or most of the cases where
It's gotta be this
that were denials and/or approvals with conditions might have been the case, a lot of times went in the favor of the developer. I did
Some.
just run some stats, and I didn't, of this study, 19 of 55 were straight out wins for the town. So that was 35% of this historical record did have a denial that favored the town. 6 cases where were ultimately awarded for the purpose of the developer, but the conditions that were applied by the town stuck. So there was still a benefit to that. And then there was one for a subdivision zoning amendment and another with a zoning amendment modification, or 2 with zoning amendment modifications. And all the ones that were just for zoning were decided in favor of the town, which I thought was interesting. And that, so of all 55, where there might have been some type of favorable outcome, actually the percentage jumps to 51%. So 28 of the 55 had some type of favorable outcome associated with the town taking a stand on something that wasn't in the best interest of the community. But when you read the details in some of these other ones,
Yeah, I just want to point out the date of this.
Yeah, this
was
doesn't ha- this is not a-
2013,
Yeah.
so, yeah, this was kind of
10 years
early
old.
on, kind of still, so who knows what the thought process is now, but
I mean, I found another study that's got all the case law
was
in
that
it. It's the Western New England Law Review,
yeah.
but that one's, I didn't even bother to send it to you because it's 2001. And it's what's happened in the last 20 years that matters.
Yeah. so,
You don't sleep at night, do you?
No.
He wants to go to sleep.
Is,
No, what I mean is, see, all these
can I ask, is there like,
Spend a lot of time.
have we given any thought, or who's gatekeeping and keeping track of the percentages in these buildings? Is there a person designated for that in these towns? Or
Well,
do they have,
what happens is yearly, through this affordable housing appeals list, there's yearly reporting that goes back to the state. And the state's the one that collects the figures on CHFA mortgages, and they collect figures on Section 8 vouchers, and they run it by the towns to see if we've created any deed-restricted units. Has the housing authority, which is income dependent, have they created any additional units? So we work with the state on that.
that falls like on you to, Better be around for another 40 years.
I will not be.
All right, no further communication. We move on to item 7, communication. I think there's none.
We killed it.
Yep. Item 8, approve bills. We got one bill.
Yep,
Right.
I was already signed this.
So can I have a motion?
Motion to approve
Second.
invoice 1913.
You already
For
signed
$2,000.
already signed it.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Excellent job.